I have heard any number of people assert that they are spiritual but not religious. Anyone else heard that phrase? Mm-hmm. I've also heard a lot of people say that they're not very spiritual at all. What do they mean by those terms, and what do we? My favorite way to answer is to look at the etymology of the words. The word religious comes from the Latin religare, which means to rebind or reconnect. So one way to understand religion is that it invites us into renewed relationship with one another and or with the natural world and or with a particular tradition or story and or with that which we experience as transcendent or holy. The word spiritual comes from the word spiritualis, which means pertaining to the breath or to the wind. We might understand spirituality then as something that is intrinsic to being human, as breathing. We might understand it to be that which infuses our life with meaning, that gives us buoyancy. We humans evolved to make meaning. It is in our nature to look at the raw material of life, to look at reality and find patterns, create stories. We crave a sense of significance. We care about our legacy. In this sense, I believe to be human is to inherently be spiritual. The way I think about it is that spirituality is the set of beliefs, values, and practices that help us stay human and grow in wisdom and maturity. The thing is, though, that spirituality doesn't need to have an element of the supernatural. It doesn't have to be related to a deity. So when someone says they are not very spiritual, I think what they actually mean is that they have a spirituality that's grounded in reality rather than a religious or philosophical tradition. When someone says they're spiritual but not religious, I understand that to mean that their spirituality is inwardly focused rather than something they want to explore in community. The problem with that, though, is without relationships, there's no one to hold a person accountable. It becomes disturbingly easy to hide behind privilege or to slip into toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. From my perspective, the fact that you're alive means that you are a spiritual being, and the fact that you're here today means you are religious. Or if you're just checking us out, you're at least considering becoming religious. The challenge may be that both terms, spiritual and religious, are linked in people's minds to belief in God or the supernatural. In the very first sermon I ever preached in this room, nearly 14 years ago now, I made the assertion that whether or not we believe in God, we Unitarian Universalists are all humanists. I said some of us find this three-letter G word to be a useful symbol as we strive to articulate who we are, why we are here, and what we are called to be and do, and some of us don't. It's actually a very small distinction. And I'll say more about this in the next two services I'm leading, one of which is on atheist spirituality and the other on theism. Whether you have a close personal relationship with a god, gods, or goddesses, or reject any belief that has a hint of the otherworldly, know that you belong here. When it comes to beliefs, the beliefs we choose to integrate into our personal spirituality, what matters is whether those beliefs are grounded in love or created out of fear. The word belief comes from the root word leuv, which means to love. Believing all people are worthy of respect, compassion, and care, that's a belief rooted in love. Discrimination and oppression are creations of fear. Fear of the other, fear of scarcity. Now, we don't all believe the same thing in this community. That would be so very boring. The old stories may resonate in some ways for some of us, But we don't require adherence to any creed or doctrine. We don't have a central text. We believe there are as many ways to be human as there are humans. All spiritual paths that are based in love are valid. So, if spirituality is the set of beliefs, values, and practices that help us stay human and grow in wisdom and maturity, we just covered beliefs. Let's move on to values. The word value comes from the Proto-Indo-European word val, which means to be strong. To be strong. Our values are the things that make us strong. They're what gives structure and momentum to our lives. Now, our shared UU values, the ones up on the walls and on the front of the pulpit, are a component of our individual spirituality, and they're the common ground at the heart of our religious community. Individually, we figure out how to express these values in our living, and together we embrace them as a guiding star. But I would venture a guess that these aren't the only values that matter to us as individuals or even as a community. Personally, I really value honesty and authenticity, beauty and joy. How about you? What else do you value? Throw out some words. Humor. Laughter. What did you say? Wonder. Each other. Curiosity. Open-mindedness. Whimsy. Freedom. Empathy. Yeah. Accountability. Creativity. I missed one over here. Gratitude. Yeah. Okay. Our values shape how we approach life. We try to make choices that are in line with our values. Sometimes we don't, and when we're out of alignment, we feel it. When we're out of alignment with our values, it doesn't feel pleasant. One of the purposes of religious community is to teach children, in particular, a different set of values than they're going to get out in the world. The larger culture values appearance, wealth, and productivity over kindness, compassion, mercy, and generosity. And I think that's a big part of why we're in the mess we're in. Now, our worship services, what we do together on Sundays, they serve the purpose of spotlighting what we value. The word worship comes from Old English, veort and shipe, which mean together to lift up that which has worth. You don't have to worship God on Sundays any more than you have to believe in God to be spiritual or subscribe to a creed in order to be religious. And just to be clear, you don't ever have to agree with anything that's said in worship by me or by anyone else. So do you understand what I'm doing here? I'm reclaiming words that have been co-opted and corrupted and used in ways that have caused harm. I'm opening them back up, creating space within them for each of us to find what works best for us as individuals and fits within the framework that we create here together. This isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's essential for us as human beings to zoom out and see the big picture, and then quiet down, turn inward, and listen for the wisdom within that guides us in our decisions and helps us live lives that are satisfying and beautiful. Which leads me to spiritual practices. A spiritual practice is anything we do with intention and attention. Now, it might look like a traditional practice, prayer, meditation, or yoga. It might be something different, like cooking or walking in the forest. Ginger once told me that the reason she loves mountain biking so much is because it demands her full attention. She can't think about anything else or she'll go head over tea kettle. And I said, well, that means, Ginger, for you, mountain biking is your spiritual practice. What these times of focus, of attention and intention do for us is they open the channel between our conscious mind and the still small voice, that deep wisdom at our core. The noise created by the culture, by other people's needs, that noise quiets, and we're able to reestablish contact with our own deep truth. As for how spirituality and religion are connected to faith, the roots of that word point us to another important quality, trust. In what do we place our trust? I turn to Sharon Salzberg's book on faith. She writes, "Faith is the quality of the heart that impels us to seek what is constant and whole. Faith helps us approach life with a sense of possibility rather than foreboding or helplessness. It dares us to imagine what we might be capable of. It enables us to reach for what we don't yet know with a measure of courage. It gives us resilience in times of difficulty and the ability to respond to challenges without feeling trapped. My own faith has taught me that whatever disappointments I might meet, I can try again, trust again, and love again." Salzberg describes faith as an evolutionary process. The first stage is bright faith, which feels like falling in love. We find a path or a guru or a spiritual leader who we think has figured it all out and can teach us how to do this human being thing. Bright faith feels awesome, but it is fickle. Our path goes someplace that doesn't work for us. Our guru turns out to have clay feet. Our spiritual leader says or does something that leaves us cold, and we come to a decision point. We can look for a new path, a new guru or leader, seeking that feeling of bright faith, or we can gather up our courage and enter the next stage, which is verifying faith. Verifying faith is a time of testing and doubting. We take the truths that are offered to us and we compare them to our experiences, our own deep truths, our intuition. We start picking and choosing. We move through feelings of confusion and despair. We start to create our own path, one slow and careful step at a time. If we do this work with patience and compassion for ourselves and one another, we eventually arrive at the third stage, which is abiding faith. Abiding faith is hard to put into words. It grows in us slowly as we move toward all of life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. When we embrace the fullness of this human adventure we are on, as Salzberg puts it, abiding faith does not depend on borrowed concepts. Rather, it is the magnetic force of a bone-deep, lived understanding, one that draws us to realize our ideals, walk our talk, and act in accord with what we know to be true. Abiding faith grows as we realize that we are connected, part of the interdependent web. It grows when we accept that everything will be okay, and nothing is ever going to be okay, and everything will be okay. Faithful people are able to make peace with the truth that none of us get out of this alive, and that our fears, our loss, grief, trauma, and death only serve to keep us from the sweetness life has to offer. We don't need to have faith in a higher power or in anything else for that matter. We just have to keep seeking, keep learning and growing. Abiding faith trusts life as it unfolds. A spirituality devoid of this kind of abiding faith runs the risk of devolving into the nihilism that David Brooks talked about in our reading. If you believe that what you do matters, and I sure hope you do, then you have faith. If you believe that what we do together matters, then you have religion too. In these times when the worst aspects of human nature, greed, hatred, and cruelty, are being normalized and even celebrated, it's more important than ever to tend to our spirits, to grow and mature, to play in the sandbox of meaning, to get over our discomfort with the words or metaphors we might need to use to talk about our spirituality. It's hard right now to stay hopeful and resilient. We need the buoyancy, the lightness of spirit. We need the connections we have to one another and to all that is. We need those authentic experiences of reverence that remind us who we are and why we are here. And we need one another most of all. Remember Clarissa Pinkola Estes, the light of the soul throws sparks, can send up flares, builds signal fires, causes proper matters to catch fire. To display the lantern of soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy toward others, Both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity. Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. If you would help to calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things you can do. Our spiritual journey is a road that leads us to become stronger, braver, wiser, and more loving. Our religious community supports us and challenges us and bears witness to our miraculous spirit. That's why we're here. And that's why what we do here matters. So be it, and so may it be.